ABCs of mental health. We are almost through our journey, our 26-day journey, and I am so excited. We are on the letter U. So we are going to be talking about U. Let's see if we can get through these alphabets. A was for attachment, B was for burnout, C was for codependency, D was for depression, E was for emotional regulation, F was for forgiveness, G was for grief, H was for hope, I was for identity formation, J was for judgment, K was for kindness, L was for loneliness, M was for mood, N was for negative thought patterns or negative thinking patterns, O was for overthinking. Oh my gosh, I got it right that time. O was for overthinking. P was for people pleasing. Q was for quiet time versus avoidance. R was for religious abuse. R L M N O P Q R. S was for, what was S for? I just did S. S was for, I forgot. I did so well, and then I forgot. S was for shame. T was for trauma responses. And tonight we're going to be talking about U for unmet needs. Unmet needs. So we're going to be talking about unmet needs tonight. I promise I won't be for you long. Hey Jay. I know it's like about 1,001 lives right now. So thank you so much for hopping on. I understand there's a lot happening right now. And thank you. This is one of the, I got my shoulders out. So hopefully it does look nice. But this is a Memorial Day fit. This is a Memorial Day outfit. So thank you so much. So again, we're talking about unmet needs, and I'm going to get right into it because I know time is short. So we'll get it done. So first, I want to just give a little bit of background. What is where this idea of unmet needs comes from. There's a theory called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's a psychological framework that outlines 5-tier models of human needs, right? And it's also often visualized as a pyramid. If you take a look at some of my videos, there is a category that talks about needs and Maslow's hierarchy to give you more information about that. So the needs are ranked from most basic to advance, and the theory assumes that people must meet a lower level of need and then they come up to a higher level of need. So that is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if we are coming from a theological perspective, you would flip the pyramid, because it's not that those physical needs or emotional needs are important, but in the theological context, spiritual needs precede those physical needs sometimes, right? So that's the framework. I wanted to take a minute to discuss that for a moment, for a second, so that we can get through the talking points. So if anybody is new, and hi to all the welcome to all the new people in the chat. We generally will go through talking points. I'll give you a psychological insight, a theological truth, and a practical tip for each point. We go through 10 points and then we're done, right? We're done. But the whole point of this particular live stream is throughout the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. We're talking about mental health and giving you some education around some of the terms and some of the language that's often used in psychology, theology, related to mental health. Okay, so let's get it. So number one, unmet needs are often misnamed as weaknesses. So the psychological impact here is that sometimes we internalize our needs as character flaws, especially if you're raised in an environment where vulnerability is an unsafe concept. I've talked about it before. If you are in an unstable environment, if you are in an environment where you are not affirmed, sometimes that creates a safety need, which is on that hierarchy. And that can lead to some attachment trauma, right? We talked about attachment the first night. So the theological truth here is that God created humans with needs before sin entered the world. So sometimes we feel like if I am quote unquote needy, if I need support, if I need care, if I need companionship, that somehow means that I'm weak as a person. When the reality is, this is something that's ingrained in humanity. I've said before, if you take a baby and you just give them physical needs, if you just feed them, clothe them, change their diaper when they're wet, do all of the physical aspects for that child, but you do not hold them when they're crying. You do not give them care or compassion. You don't feel like they don't feel loved as an infant. They can become very sickly. Why? Because as humanity, we are interconnected, right? We need community, we need fellowship, we need care and concern. That is a biological need, psychological need. This is why many moons ago, when they started penitentiaries, it would be like, and we have one in Pennsylvania, there's this cell where there's just like this little slit and you can barely get light in. And men and women that were locked up were going insane because you need human companionship. Okay, so it is not a weakness to need something or someone. Okay, so here's the practical tip. If you have been taught to hide your needs, things like comfort, companionship, affirmation, right, care, concern, reframe that with the truth and say, this need existed before any brokenness, right? This need existed before any sin because God designed me to be connected with others. For example, the Bible says it's not good for man to be alone. It's not talking about man because that has male parts. It's talking about humanity. It's not good for us to be isolated and singular. Let me see what Jay said. That's why my bishop at church was talking about something like this. At church, I said, I'm in the right vein. Come on, Bishop. I'm in the right vein. That means we on track. We on target. Sometimes when things happen like that, it's such a confirmation that you're on the right path because God consistently, well, I believe that God consistently speaks to his church, his people, his children, right? And oftentimes it's thematic. So I'm glad that Bishop was talking about that because it makes me feel like I'm on track. Amen. So number two, emotional needs are biological. They're not optional, right? So the need for love, safety, and belonging are wired into our nervous system because they're part of being human, right? They're part of being human. It is not emotionally insecure, emotionally immature, emotionally deficient, emotionally arrested if you feel the need for companionship, if you feel the need for community, even if, again, I've said this before, you don't have to dance with everybody, right? You don't have to bang with everybody. You don't have to be in everybody's crew or fellowship, but there should be somebody that you can connect with, okay? And sometimes for many of us, it's the more people because we are so faceted. We have so many sides. We have so many different parts of us. It is so important for that to connect. And sometimes you need more than one person. Now, again, like I said, I ain't saying it's got to be everybody, but there should be somebody that you connect with, okay? Scripture describes God as our refuge, our helper, our comforter, not because we're weak, but because he created us for us to need him and need each other. If you look at the biblical text, it is full of adages, examples where it says, hey, love God and love others. Like, this is the first commandment, love me. Second commandment, love your brother and sister. So it is how we were created. Okay. So the practical tip here is name one emotional need each morning. Okay. And say out loud, I'm not ashamed to need whatever the need is today. If that is affirmation, if that is companionship, if that's laughter with a friend, whatever the need is, and then show me how to meet that need with wisdom, not shame, right? Don't hide the fact that you need other people. It's okay. It's okay. We all need somebody. And unfortunately, we live in a culture that has decided that needing other people is something to be ashamed of. Like, you can't be strong and need help. I don't know where that comes from. It is it is the opposite. I was about to use a big word, unnecessarily big word. So it is the opposite of what is actually true. Because I remember being, especially when I was working in residential rehab facilities, they would say things, I don't need nobody. I'm grinding for the muscle, I do it myself. And I said, okay, I get that psychologically, but you still need people. So let's say you're an entrepreneur and you are working towards purchasing, like let's say you're going to make t-shirts. Okay, so I was on somebody's chat and they were talking about t-shirts. Unless you have a cotton field in your backyard, where, and even if you did, you would need to get the seeds from somewhere, because where are you getting cotton seeds? You have to get the cotton seeds from somewhere. You have to grow the cotton. You have to pick the cotton. You have to create the shirt. You have to dye the shirt. You have to create all the vinyl and things. Like, you're going to need other people. Now, they might not be giving you a handout, but you need other people to get what you need done. So if we're looking at a practical lens, saying I don't need anyone is a fallacy. You do need, I mean, simple things like, okay, if you're not growing your own food, you need to go to the supermarket. You need somebody to own that. So anyway, I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I say all that to say sometimes we convince ourselves that we can do everything on our own, and that's just not true. Okay. Number 3, suppressing your needs that can cause them to turn into symptoms, right? So when your needs are being ignored, when you are having a need but you're ignoring them, they will show up in an unconventional or sideways way. So if you're the person who needs companionship, but you are suppressing it, you're saying, no, I don't need nobody, I don't want nobody. And I'm sorry, I said it real aggressive, but like, no, I'm okay, I'm by myself, like, I'm good, I don't need anybody, I don't need any help. What happens is you suppress that need, and what it does is it'll pop up as anxiety, right? Because now I'm worried that I can't do everything by myself. So now this ideology is causing me anxiety, or it'll come out as irritation when I'm confronted with the fact that, hey, I actually might need help. Or it'll come out as burnout because I've been trying to do this all by myself for years. And sometimes, unfortunately, I'll say this here, sometimes, unfortunately, we have grown up in positions where we really can't depend on anyone else. We really could not have gotten the comfort needs met, or the affirmation needs met, or those, even sometimes the physical needs met as we were growing up. So that's a real thing. I'm not discounting that. However, if you continue to live from that traumatic space, it will end up, right? Suppressing those needs will end up having you burnt out, right? Because you're trying to control everything, and that's just not how we're designed. Or you'll end up being numb, and now you're like, even if people try to help you, you have identified your strength as being the one who can do it all. Not healthy, because long term, again, it wears on your psychological health, that wears on your physical health, that wears on your emotional health. Okay, so the theological truth here is that ignoring the soul's need for rest, presence, honesty eventually leads to collapse. Okay, emotionally and spiritually. Even Jesus withdrew to desolate places to pray. Okay. Here's a practical tip. When you feel off, ask, what emotion, okay? What emotion am I ignoring? Then ask, what unmet need is buried underneath that emotion? Because sometimes I'm frustrated because I needed something and I didn't get it. So find out what it was that you needed so that you can address the frustration. Same thing with anger. Same thing with pain, right? What was the need underneath there? Okay. And bring that need to the forefront. Process it, pray about it, whatever it is that you need to do so that you can alleviate the symptom. Okay. So number 4, people pleasing often mask unspoken needs. So we talked a lot about people pleasing. We talked about it in the codependency live. We talked about it in the actual people pleasing live. So there's a lot of information on people pleasing, but the fawn response particularly, which we talked about last night, tricks us into meeting other people's needs prior to ever meeting our needs in efforts to belong, right? And so we know that that long term causes you to not identify with your own needs, to not take care of yourself, to put everybody else's wants and desires before your own. Again, not healthy long term. Might work in a moment, but it's not healthy long term. Okay. Theological truth here is that Christ never overextended himself to prove his love to anyone, right? He said yes with purpose and no with peace. Whole short. I think I got a video on when Jesus said no. I'm gonna have to look for it. I think I have a video on that. When Jesus said no, he did not say yes all the time. He did not fix every issue, right? He did not listen. Lazarus died. Did he raise him up? Yes, but he actually died. He did not intervene prior to that. And so sometimes he said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going this way. I'm going that way. So it is okay to say no and still have love, still have joy, still have peace, even with your no, okay? Because people pleasing often masks those unspoken needs. Why are you saying yes? Is it fear-based? Is it shame-based? Okay? So the practical tip here is the next time you feel guilt, okay, rising, when you set a boundary, pause and say, I was not created to disappear in order to be loved. Okay? You were not created to disappear in order to be loved. You don't have to be a mirror of somebody else's wants, needs, or desires. You do not have to. Okay? Remember that your needs matter too. Number 5, and we're halfway through. We're almost done. All right. Fear of rejection blocks honest request. Okay. So when we fear rejection, when we are sensitive to rejection, it can make asking for support, asking for help, asking for assistance feel dangerous. Because if I fear that ask will sever the relationship, it makes it that much more unlikely for me to ever ask. Okay? Because oftentimes people that experience that is because there was a time when they asked for help or needed help and they felt like they were being, it was like they were ignored or they were rejected or they were punished. And so now that need or that ask for help is connected with the rejection. It's connected with the ignoring. It's connected with the punishment. So it becomes very scary to ask for help. It's almost like I would rather not ask than ask and be hurt again. Okay? I would rather not be vulnerable and get smacked down again. I would rather just do it myself. And again, unfortunately, that if you don't try, you cannot break that cycle. If you don't test the theory, you will always operate underneath that same guise, that same information. You will always operate underneath that because it's a theory that hasn't been tested. So the encouragement there is that if you're honest and go to someone who loves you, cares about you, and says, hey, I have difficulty asking for help because in times past, when I asked for help, assistance, care, concern, affirmation, love, affection, it was not received well. I'm giving you this information. I'm being vulnerable. Can you help me with this, right? Can you be a sounding board? Can you not reject me in this moment? And most people who are safe, healthy, whole people are going to partner with you in that. They're not going to reject you. The other thing that I'll say here is make sure that you are processing your internal lens because sometimes you will see rejection where it's not because you've always seen rejection, right? You will be like, aha, they rejected me. And you're like, no, they just said they couldn't pick you up this one time, right? Or no, they said they couldn't help you this one time, okay? So I want you to be cognizant of that, all right? So here is a practical tip. Write one sentence describing what you need, then speak it aloud in prayer. Speak it aloud in prayer or speak it to someone safe. Practice saying asking is not a weakness. Asking is not a weakness. It is a doorway to connection. Hey, Mr. Phenomenal, I appreciate you being alive and I appreciate you wholeheartedly for all of what you're doing. I saw I had to stop and recognize you because I saw that you y'all did a meetup, and I was like, that is amazing. It made me so excited. So thank you so much for dropping in a live, and thank you so much for the encouragement and all that you do to promote your fellow YouTubers and content creation and monetizing your greatness. So I appreciate you and thank you so much. So again, what I was saying is make sure you are practicing asking, and then practicing saying that asking is not a weakness. It's a doorway to connection. Okay. Number 6, needs aren't demands, they're invitations. Okay. Needs aren't demands, they're invitations. So again, going back to understanding that healthy relationships, they need closeness, right? And need saying, hey, I need this from you, friend, colleague, spouse, uh person in my family. I need this from you. And having that reciprocal response, it doesn't mean that I'm demanding it. I am obligating you for it, but I'm requesting it. And when we meet each other's needs, when there's reciprocity in a relationship, which means you get what you need to get, I get what I need to get, and there's balance and flow, that builds closeness, it builds safety, it builds trust. Okay, reciprocity is crucial. And again, that just means you active flow, mutual give and take, right? That is crucial in relationships. It builds trust, it builds safety, it builds awareness, right? Because if I can say to someone I am close to, hey, I need this and I'm not getting this in this relationship, let's see how we can figure this out, right? Because sometimes we are not asking for what we need. Okay, whole premise of this conversation: ask for what you need so that it can be reciprocated. Okay, and if people are unwilling to reciprocate, again, it's not a demand, it's a request. If people are unwilling to reciprocate, then you have to question question the health of that relationship. I was going to say this, the foundation of that relationship, but just question the health of it. Because if I am in a healthy relationship, I want to help the person I'm with, right? Reciprocity, it's a good thing. Okay, the theological truth here is God invites us to cast our cares on him, and we replicate that in our relationship. Sometimes I am casting my concerns, my cares onto the person I'm in a relationship with. And again, that's any type of relationship, not just a spouse. That could be a family member, that could be a coworker, that we're able to share the burdens of one another. Okay, the practical tip here: before sharing a need, pause and pray. Okay, God, help me see this not as a demand, not as a demand, but as an invitation to a deeper relationship. Then speak the need clearly. Okay, understand you can, if we are not open. A common thing that people say is a closed mouth doesn't get fed, right? If you're not asking for what you need, it is hard to meet the need. So again, in open invitations, ask people for what you need. Speak that need clearly without apologizing. Okay, because sometimes we'll ask and then we'll feel bad that we needed to ask, or we'll apologize for asking. No, it's okay. It's what you need. If they're not able or not willing to give it to you, at least you know once you ask. Okay? All right, number 7, guilt around needs comes from old rules and regulations. Okay? If you have operated in this way for all the time, like all many moons, all the time you've been alive, it is going to take some intentional processing to address that. Okay, so family systems and spiritual environments can implant false narratives like I'm only valuable when I serve. I'm only as good as what I produce. I'm only safe and secure if I am doing something for other people. So understand that even though that's not the truth, some people will operate as they will operate in that vein as the default. It's like, okay, this is the default because this is what I've learned. This is what I've operated in the entirety of my life. That is going to cause guilt when you start to change it. So address the guilt and say, hey, no, this is It is okay for me to have a need. It's okay for me to rest. It's okay for me to say no. It's okay to say I don't want to. All of these things are okay because as a person with their own needs, it is okay to articulate them, to value them, to pick yourself first, right? Um, so don't allow the guilt to hinder you. Okay? Don't allow the guilt to prevent you from getting what you need. It is okay to ask for what you need. I'm sorry. Y'all know I get excited. Y'all know I get excited. Good evening, Stash. Good evening, Stash Cash. Hopefully that answers your question. This is live, not pre-recorded. Although y'all about to get some of these pre-recorded lives, okay? After May, and I don't want no complaints, okay? I don't want no complaints. So the theological truth is the gospel invites us to rest in and into a relationship, not performance, right? Not this incessant rat race, this wheel of trying to make everybody else happy and not get our needs met. It is okay. Oh, sorry. I feel like I keep saying the same thing over, but it must be said because some of us operate as if we don't deserve our needs to be met, and they do. It is vital for your emotional, mental, spiritual, psychological health to get your needs met, and be okay with asking others to partner with you in getting them met. Okay. The practical tip here is when guilt rises, because if you've been operating under this premise for a really long time, when you start to shift and change that system, that the way of thinking, that ideology, there might be a little guilt, okay? Because it is the reverse of what you have been performing for so long. When it arises, so I say when, not if, when it arises, name the rule that you have been operating that's behind it. So, for example, if I'm the type of person that says I shouldn't need help, if I'm a strong person, I shouldn't need help. Understand that's a falsehood. We talked about that already. Then replace that, challenge that falsehood with the truth, right? Things like, hey, it's okay to need help. And love doesn't require me to erase myself or my needs. I'm allowed to need. I'm allowed to rest. I'm allowed to receive from other people as opposed to being the one who gives all the time. You see how that change in focus, right, helps you to be like, oh no, I'm okay. This is a valid need and this is a valid approach to getting my needs met. So I don't have to feel guilty for something that's a need. Number 8, almost done. Learning to receive is just as holy as giving. And this is for all my church folk, okay? This is for all my, faith-based people in the room. Sometimes we have, I don't want to say weaponized, but I feel like we have given a higher place to the givers. We'll say it is good. You are in service, you are in ministry, you're supposed to give, 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 give. This is more holy, okay? Hola, Liliana. This is more holy. This is more right. This is how you earn, okay? Earn. Legalism. Earn God's affection. Earn God's favor by giving, by doing the most, by doing the best, by being the upper echelon of givers in your community and your congregation. And while it is a good thing to be a giver, it is not good to be codependent. Okay? It's not good to operate in a trauma loop because you feel like if I give, then somehow I'm earning some kind of favor and grace in the sight of God and in the sight of man. Codependency and trauma teaches that it's safer to give, and it will actually tell us it is not safe to receive. It's like, oh, somebody give me something, they want something. Oh, if they give me something, I've got to reciprocate. I got to pay them back. What happens when you live that way is you become emotionally malnourished. Now, I seen Simply Alana come in the chat. I hope I say it right because I heard word on the YouTube streets is 2 y'all. And I don't want no smoke. I don't want no smoke. If I said it wrong, please correct me, and I'm gonna have to get some sticky notes so I make sure that I say the right name at the right time. Okay? Apologies in advance if I said it wrong. But welcome to the live. Okay? So again, it is just as holy to give, and it's just as holy to receive. They are equal. Sometimes you are actually helping someone else receive their blessing because they gave something to you. Sometimes they're obedient. Sometimes God will give somebody a word and say, "Hey, give this to such and such," and you over here like, "No, I don't want it. I don't want it. Can't take it. I don't want to be needy." And it's like, if God sent that person to bless you, and you are rejecting it, you are blocking their blessing because they are being obedient, or potentially, okay? Because God gonna get them what they supposed to get anyway. But I'm just saying. All right. Remember that Jesus not only gave, he received. He let others anoint him. He let others feed him. Okay? If you look at the gospel, he had reciprocal relationships with his followers, with the 3, with the 12, with the 72, with the, like, he had reciprocal relationships, and that's our model. Okay, so the practical tip here is, let someone meet a small need of yours this week without shrinking or returning the favor immediately. Okay, practice saying thank you, just saying thank you, without giving this whole litany of response. Because sometimes we'll give a whole, like, "Oh, thank you so much." We'll overthink, we'll placate, we'll do all this thing. And it's like, just say thank you. That's it. Okay? All right. Number 9. Your needs don't make you a burden. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Your needs do not make you a burden. I have heard more times than I care to recall people say, "Oh, I didn't say I needed help because I didn't want to feel like a burden." Who told you that? Where did you get that idea from? If someone told you that you were a burden, don't ask them. But that doesn't mean other people won't find it an honor to assist, an honor to help. I just read Homebody Trisha's comment. She said, "I'm the one in the back." Listen, I'll be the one in the back, okay? I'm going to say this. Everything I say to somebody else, 9 times out of 10, I have to learn first. And sometimes I'm in the process of learning. I have said to people, some of these goals are aspirational, which just means I'm trying to get there too. I am aspiring to get there too. So I have said myself, that's the other thing. Let me be honest. I've said myself, I don't like asking people. I said this, a couple weeks ago. I was sharing with somebody. I don't remember who it was. And I was like, I don't want to be the friend that always got a problem. I don't want to be the friend that always need fixing. I don't want to cry. I don't want to be the one. I don't want to be vulnerable. Yeah. But it's necessary for relationship. It's necessary for healthy communication. It's necessary for strong, whole, reciprocal relationships. Okay? So, understand that your needs don't make you a burden. That's something that we put on there. That's something we add in there. Okay? Shame-based identities develop when we're told directly or indirectly, because sometimes you're never told this directly, but that you're too much. I've been told that often. Or you're not enough. Okay? Like, you just too, gosh, you too much, Danielle. You just over the top. You doing too much. You're too much. When you hear that often, you will begin to believe, or you can potentially believe, that you are a burden. Okay? And the encouragement here is to not identify with someone else's estimation of how much or how little you are. Maybe you're just too much for them. And that doesn't mean that maybe the problem lies with their capacity, not with you. I am too much for some people. I am. I know that. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. but I am somebody's iced caramel latte with an extra shot of espresso. And sometimes that's what we have to tell ourselves. We have to remind ourselves that perhaps the problem lies with somebody else's capacity, not necessarily with you and who you are. Okay? You are absolutely just right for the people that you are assigned to and assigned for and in relationship with. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Good evening, Monique. Good evening. Okay? So, theological truth here is that Jesus met people's needs without shame. He met them without shame. He healed, he touched, he fed, he listened without making people feel guilty for needing him. And again, if we are operating as Jesus is the model, this is what we do. All right. Here's the practical tip. Okay. When you write a list of needs you often feel guilty for having. Examples: reassurance. Okay. Sometimes we feel guilty for needing reassurance. Sometimes we feel guilty for needing more time with someone. Sometimes we feel guilty for needing space from someone. Sometimes we feel guilty for needing help. Okay. If you have a list of things that you normally feel guilty about, write them down. And then beside each one, write, this is part of who I am. This is not a flaw. This is not a defect. This is part of who I am. That's it. And I will add here, if others don't have the capacity to handle the muchness that you are or the not enoughness that you are, they ain't your people. And sometimes it hurts because it'll be our family members, it'll be our friends, it'll be people we want to be in relationship with. And again, we have to look at that. Is their need greater than yours? Okay. Now, of course, this is after you process your own stuff, your own trauma, your own issues, because sometimes, again, we can have a flawed view, or we can have jacked up filters and lenses, or some people are loving us overthetop.com and we can't feel it or see it. But if you've done all that you can, you've worked on yourself, you've gotten well, you know, and people are still saying, hey, you too much or you not enough, they might not be your people. All right, and now we arrived at number 10. This is my last point. Okay, we done made it through. My last point, Jesus asked for support. Jesus, okay, Jesus asked for support. He asked for help. He asked for assistance. This is the water into wine. This is the raising people from the dead. Jesus still asked other people for support in his humanity. Ask people for help. So that means so can you and me. We can ask for help to get our needs met. We don't have to walk around with unmet needs. Okay? The inner critic, right? Psychologically, the inner critic, and we talked a lot about that before too, may label your needs as selfish, as immature, or dramatic. Okay? I'm drawn to the dramatic. But healing requires community and connection. So remember, in Jesus's most vulnerable hour, he said, my soul is overwhelmed. Can you stay here and watch with me? He asked for help in his most vulnerable moment. Jesus, okay? So if that's the case, we certainly can also ask for help. Here's the practical tip. When you feel like withdrawing, instead of asking, take a breath, right? Take a breath and say, even Jesus needed others. I'm allowed to need safe people too. Then take one small step towards connection. So again, sometimes our natural inclination is to withdraw, right? Natural inclination is to say, I can do it myself. Natural inclination is to say, nope, I don't need anyone. But as we discussed, that's not real. That's not a truth. That is something that we've concocted. So you can say, I'm allowed to need others and take a step towards connection. All right. So that's all. We have our unmet needs. We only have a few more letters to go. If you have any questions, concerns, anything that I said that you don't agree with, anything that you need more clarity, please take a moment and put it in the chat. I appreciate everybody who's in here. It says I got 4 people in here. I'm so glad that you stayed with me. I know everybody is busy, so I thank you so very much. I'm gonna make sure I said hi to everybody. I said hi to Trish, Jay, Monique. Y'all forgive me. I need my glasses. Monique, Elena. Nope, Ilana. Liliana, Stash Cash. He was in here. You know, he be in and out, but I ain't mad. Pause. Mr. Nemo was in here. Mr. Phenomenal. And then we had some folks that didn't stay too long. But thank you so much, everyone who was in here, everyone who stayed, everyone who fellowship with me. I hope you learned something. I hope that it was edifying for you. I hope that it made sense. If it didn't, like I said, questions are available in the chat. And if there's not anything, feel like, you gotta pause because it'd be a delay. There's not anything. I usually end these lives with a prayer. If you do not want prayer, that's perfectly fine. I get it. I understand. That ain't everybody's thing. You can go ahead and drop. And if not, I'm going to go ahead and pray us out. Okay? All right, Father, we thank you. We thank you for this time. We thank you that you have reminded us that we all have needs. It is not wrong to have needs. It is not deficient to have needs. It does not make us weak to have needs. That we need each other. We need community. We need fellowship. We need companionship. We need help from time to time. And so I pray, Father God, if there's anyone who has been struggling with the concept of needing help, struggling with asking for help, struggling for when they feel as though they are a burden to other people, I ask that you would lighten the load, that even as your word says that we should cast our cares upon you, that they would learn how to cast their cares upon you first, and then if there are others that can help them, to ask for help. It's okay. It is okay to ask for help. And I pray for those who find it a challenge, that feel alone and isolated and without support. I pray that you will bring them their community. I pray that you will bring them those that will be safe to be in communion and fellowship with them, Father. I ask that you will bless all the people that came by, anyone who thought it was not robbery to sit and learn and discuss and postulate and ponder upon these things, Father. I pray that you bless them even with their time back. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys so very much. I pray that you have a good night, that you rest well. And if I don't see you in anybody else's live, hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll be the ABCDFGHIJKLMNOPQRSTU. We'll be on V. Oh, I know what it is already. I didn't even have to look at my list. I know what V is because it's one I struggle with often. So it's going to be a good time. So hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow night. And if not, see you on these YouTube streets. Thank you and have a blessed night. Good night, everyone.